Do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this case not only shall be the truth, but the truth, and nothing but the truth?
Ms. Gibb, I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Gibb, you can be seated here at this witness chair. Ms. Gibb, if you'll scoot up to that microphone and then pull it down below your chin and aim it at your chin.
Okay.
Mr. Wood and Mr. Pryor, I think the record isn't picking up your voices as well as it is everybody else's. So if you'll do the same, pull that down and then point it up at your chin, it makes a much better record. If you'll pull it down, Mr. Pryor, and then point it up kind of like this so that you don't talk over it. Mr. Wood, you may inquire when you're ready.
Thank you. Will you state your name and spell it for the record?
Melanie Gibb, G-I-B-B.
Okay. Ms. Gibb, are you familiar with the defendant, Chad Daybell?
Yes.
Approximately when did you meet him?
About 3-4 years ago.
Okay. Do you remember where you met him?
Yes. I was in Morgan, Utah.
Okay. Since you've met him,
the nature of our relationship was talking about some of the books that Chad had written and his relationship with Lori.
you mentioned Lori. Is that Lori Vallow?
Correct.
Okay. Approximately when did you meet Lori Vallow?
October 2018.
And do you recall where you met her?
Yes, in Mesa, Arizona, at a church.
Okay. What was the basis of your relationship with Lori Vallow?
It was based upon things that we talked about, which were spiritual in nature.
Would you call yourself, were you friends with Lori Vallow?
Yes.
Okay. Are you familiar, or do you know if Lori Vallow had any children?
Yes.
Are you familiar with Tylee Ryan?
Yes.
Did you ever meet Tylee Ryan?
Yes.
And did you ever have opportunity to see Tylee Ryan with Lori Vallow?
Yes.
Okay. And was Tylee Ryan Lori Vallow's daughter?
Yes.
Ms. Gibb, when was the last time you saw Tylee Ryan?
July or August of 2019.
Where was that?
In her house in Chandler, Arizona.
Okay. Are you familiar with J.J. Vallow?
Yes.
Who is J.J. Vallow?
Lori's adopted son.
Okay. When you spent time with Lori, did you have occasion to spend time with J.J. at all?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Gibb, I want to call your attention to, well, do you recall where you were between the dates of September 19th, 2019 and September 23rd, 2019?
Yes.
Where were you?
Rexburg, Idaho.
Why were you there?
I was there to visit Lori. I was also there to be at an event called Firm Foundation.
Okay. Do you recall when you arrived in Rexburg?
Thursday, the 19th.
And do you know approximately when you left Rexburg?
Yes, I left Monday, the 23rd, around 9:30 in the morning.
When you were in Rexburg, where did you stay?
In Lori Vallow's house.
Do you recall the address of that house?
No.
Do you recall the general location of that house?
It was a townhome. I don't know the name of the street.
Okay. Was that townhome located in Rexburg, Idaho?
Yes.
During that weekend, did you have opportunity to spend time with Lori?
Yes.
Okay. About how much time did you spend with Lori that weekend?
Most of the time, except for on Saturday, I spent most of the day, about 10 hours, up the street at that event.
Okay. When you were at Lori Vallow's house, did you ever have occasion to see Chad Daybell there?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall approximately how many times you saw him there that weekend?
2, 3, 4 times maybe.
Okay, so you don't recall an exact number.
Not an exact number, but
Okay.
I think every day. I think every day is probably, except for the Monday.
Okay, and it was Monday, September 23rd?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have occasion to witness Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell interact with each other?
Yes.
How did they interact with each other?
Affectionately.
Okay, and when you say affectionately, what do you mean by that?
Holding hands, hugging, light kissing.
Okay. Did you ever have occasion to speak with, when you were, during this approximately 4-day period in September, did you ever have occasion to speak with Lori Vallow about the nature of her relationship with Chad Daybell?
Yes, we talked about it often.
Okay. What did she tell you about that relationship?
That they were very much in love with each other and wanted to be together as soon as possible.
Okay. And did you ever speak with Mr. Daybell about that relationship?
Most likely, but I can't recall the exact words.
Okay. Ms. Gibb, during that September 19th to 23rd, 2019 period, did you ever see Tylee Ryan?
No.
Did you speak with Lori Vallow about the location of Tylee Ryan?
She informed me that Tylee was at BYU, Idaho, and mentioned something about being with friends.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
When you were, during that same period, did you have occasion to see JJ Vallow?
Yes.
Where was he located when you saw him?
He was in the family room mostly, and then outside some.
Okay, when you say the family room, can you be more specific?
The room that's adjacent to the kitchen,
Okay, and what home was that located in?
Lori Vallow's home.
Okay. Ms. Gibb, I want to call your attention to the night of September 22nd, 2019. Do you recall what you did that night?
Ms. Gibb, you're facing the state. I'm going to invite you to turn your chair just a little bit so that I can
This way?
see
Oh, this way?
this way, so that I can see your face as you're speaking. I recognize you're answering Mr. Wood's questions, but I need to see your face as well as you're answering.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What did you do the night of September 22nd, 2019?
The night of the 22nd, I was doing a recording with Lori and David Warwick, and we were in the kitchen recording that.
Who is David Warwick?
He is a boyfriend of mine.
Okay. And you said you were recording a podcast?
Yes.
Okay. Was Mr. Daybell there during the recording of that podcast?
No.
Okay. Do you recall if JJ Vallow was there during the recording of that podcast?
I did not see him.
Okay. Did you see Alex Cox that night?
Yes.
Okay. What did you witness, or what did you observe Alex Cox doing that night?
He brought JJ into the house during the middle of the podcast.
Okay. And did you see him bring JJ into the house?
Yes.
Okay. How did Alex Cox bring JJ into the house?
He carried him in,
Okay.
and he was asleep.
And
Judge, this may have occurred, but I'm trying to get a foundation as to the time again. I may have missed it, and I apologize if I missed it.
Mr. Pryor, I'm having a hard time hearing you. Do you mind pulling your microphone down and then aiming it up at your chin? So, there you go. Repeat that one more time.
Judge, I missed the time, and I can't recall which time she said, if she did, when that occurred with Alex bringing the baby in. I don't recall.
All right.
I'll lay more foundation, Your Honor.
I didn't know if you did or not. I thought I may have missed it.
Please do.
Ms. Gibb, do you recall about what time Alex Cox brought JJ back into to Lori Vallow's home?
I can say we recorded the podcast between 9 and after midnight, a little after midnight. So someone in between that time.
Okay. You don't remember the exact hour?
I don't.
Okay. I'm going to call your attention to the morning of September 23rd, 2019. What did you do during the morning of September 23rd, 2019?
Upon awakening, I got ready for the day and came downstairs, had a brief conversation with Lori Vallow, and then got into the truck with David, and we drove off to Pocatello.
Okay. What was your conversation? Do you recall the content of your conversation with Lori Vallow that morning?
Yes,
And do you recall approximately what time you had this conversation with Lori Vallow?
sometime between 8 and 9.
Okay. What did you speak about with Ms. Vallow that morning?
She shared with David and I that JJ was acting with a lot of energy, and I'm trying to remember the words, but she recalled him climbing upon the refrigerator, knocking a picture down of Jesus, she said, and then climbing up upon the cabinets.
Okay. And did you see JJ that morning?
No,
Do you know if he was in the house that morning?
no,
Okay. And do you have any idea of where he was that morning?
no.
Okay. Over the course of that weekend, did you ever have a conversation with Lori Vallow about Kay Woodcock?
Yes,
What was the nature of that? Do you remember when during that weekend you had that conversation?
Friday, Saturday, it could have been
Okay.
several of the days, I'm not sure.
What was the nature of that conversation?
She was expressing that she wanted JJ to go live with Kay, and she expressed different solutions. He could either stay with Kay, or I believe a son of Kay's that had a family already that JJ was comfortable with, or that they liked JJ and it was a good match. I think they had a little girl, and she said that she would express to Kay that that she was sick or something was wrong with her, so that she could live with him.
So that who could live with?
JJ could live with Kay.
Okay. And at any time after that weekend, did you ever have a follow-up conversation in regards to that subject?
Yes,
Do you remember approximately when you had that follow-up conversation?
it was shortly after. I can't recall.
Okay. What was the nature of that follow-up conversation?
I asked how it went, giving JJ to Kay. She told me that they met up in an airport, and she told Kay that she had breast cancer and that she would need help with JJ for a period of time. And she said it went well.
Okay. So was it your understanding after that conversation that JJ Vallow was located with Kay Woodcock?
Yes,
And had you ever met Kay Woodcock?
briefly.
When?
The time that Charles Vallow was moving out of his house in Arizona to Texas,
And who was Charles Vallow?
Lori's husband.
Okay. Ms. Gibb, I'm going to call your attention to the date of November 26, 2019. Do you recall where you were on November 26, 2019?
I do.
Where were you?
I was in Pleasant Grove, Utah, in David Warwick's home.
Okay. Now, do you live in Utah?
No,
Where do you normally live?
Gilbert, Arizona.
Okay. And so were you visiting Mr. Warwick that day?
Yes.
Did anything significant happen that day in regards to Chad Daybell?
Yes.
Okay. What contact, if any, did you have with Mr. Daybell that day?
I received a phone call from Chad Daybell from his cell phone to my cell phone, and I answered the phone call.
Okay. And do you recall approximately what time it was?
Late morning.
Okay. And you said you got a call from his cell phone. How do you know it was his cell phone?
Because when the phone number came up, it had his name on it.
Okay. And was that a contact you had previously stored in your cell phone?
Yes.
And was Ms. Gibb, had you previously had any discussions with Mr. Daybell through that same phone number?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall what that phone number was?
Yes. It was 208-690-9374.
And I may have already asked this. I apologize if I did. Approximately what time were you called by Mr. Daybell that day?
Late morning.
Okay. What was the nature of that conversation?
He said, "Hi, Melanie, this is Chad. The Rexburg police are going to call you. Don't pick up." He
Okay.
said, "Oh." Okay.
Where did the conversation go from there?
He let me know that the police were over at Lori Vallow's home in Rexburg, and that they were inquiring about where JJ was, and that she was going to tell the police that JJ was with me.
Okay. How did you respond?
In shock, and I can't recall if I said anything at that moment. Oh, I did say after the shock, I said, "JJ's not at Kay's house."
And how did Mr. Daybell respond to that?
He said, "No."
Okay. Was there any other content to that conversation?
I asked him if he was nervous, and he said yes.
Okay. Was anything else said?
I can't recall.
Okay. That same day, November 26, 2019, did you have any contact with Lori Vallow?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember approximately where you were when you heard from Lori Vallow?
Yes, I was in the same place. And
Okay. And where was that again?
that was in Utah, in David's home.
And approximately what time did you hear from Defendant Vallow? Lori Vallow?
I possibly within an hour or two, I can't exactly recall.
Okay. And when you say an hour or two, what is that in reference to?
Her calling me, Lori calling me.
Right. Was it an hour or two after what?
I'm sorry, Chad's phone call.
Okay. What was the nature of that conversation?
When I picked up, she said, "Hi, Melanie, this is," well, she probably didn't say her name, but she said, "Just want to let you know everything's fine." She was upbeat, cheery, acting like nothing was wrong.
What happened after that?
She told me that the police had been there asking for JJ, and that she told the police that I had JJ asked me just to pick up my phone and take a picture, a random picture of kids running around. And that she would come by and pick him up and then, no, I'm sorry, that after me driving home from Utah to Arizona, that she would come and get him later that week.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there, Gibb. I want to point you back to this conversation or the statement about picking up your phone.
Mhm.
What did she ask you to do with that again?
Take a picture of random kids to make it look like it was JJ.
Okay. And I kind of lost track. I apologize.
That's okay.
You said something about driving down to Arizona. What was that part of the conversation? Who said what?
So she knew that I was going down to Arizona for Thanksgiving, back to my home. And she said that she told the police that she was going to pick him up from my house from Arizona, which I had no previous knowledge to this. This was new information to me.
Okay. Did Lori say anything else to you about JJ?
I can't recall exactly, but I can recall what she talked about Kay.
Okay, what did she say about Kay?
She said that Kay was trying to kidnap JJ. And I said, how do you know? And she said, well, I've received emails, you know, being threatened that he was going to kidnap her. I said, well, what does she say? And she said, well, she sent me emails, and she said, she quoted Kay saying, it's not like I'm going to kidnap him or anything. And that she was trying to protect JJ and from her and other people, not just Kay, but possibly family members as well.
Okay. And you said that to your perception, she seemed upbeat and positive. Were
Yeah.
those the words you used?
Yes.
Okay. To your perception, when you spoke with Mr. Daybell that day, how did he sound?
Very nervous.
Is that why you asked him if he was nervous?
Uh-huh.
After receiving these phone calls, how did that make you feel?
Horrible. I felt in shock. I was not okay with it because she told something to the police that was not true, which I had no knowledge of. So I had a really bad feeling in my stomach, and I felt very shooken up by it.
Okay. Do you know if the Rexburg police attempted to contact you that day?
They did.
Okay. How did they try to contact you?
They tried calling me, and once I believe they left a text.
Okay. And did you respond to them that day?
Not the Rexburg police, I did not.
Okay. How come? Is there a reason?
Well, first of all, Chad tells me not to answer it, and then Lori tells me that her child is in danger. So I'm not sure what to believe or understand what's going on this time. I'm very confused.
Okay. Did you speak to any law enforcement that day?
Yes.
What interaction did you have? Do you know which law enforcement agency you spoke with that day?
Gilbert Police.
Okay. And do you recall if there was a specific individual you spoke with that day from Gilbert Police?
Officer Ryan Pillar.
I'm sorry, can you say
Officer Ryan Pillar.
Ryan Pillar?
Correct.
And do you know how that last name is spelled?
Pillar, or there could be a Y, so I'm
Okay.
not for sure.
What contact did you have with Officer Pillar that day?
He called me, left a message, and I returned his phone call.
Okay. What was the nature of your conversation with Officer Pillar?
He was responding to the Rexburg police and was asking about JJ and his whereabouts.
Okay, and what did you tell him?
I told him that I had been with JJ, but that he was back with Lori.
Okay. When you said you had been with him, what did you mean by that?
That he was with me, and then she came to get him,
Okay.
so that it would turn the police back to Rexburg and not with me, because
Now, Ms. Gibb, had you recently had JJ with you?
no,
So when you told Detective Pillar that you had, was that an accurate statement?
no, it was not.
Okay. And did you believe that JJ was actually with Lori at that time?
I was not sure.
Okay. So was that, pursuant to the knowledge you had, was that an accurate statement?
Yeah,
Okay. But did you also tell Detective Pillar that JJ was not with you?
correct.
And was that an accurate statement?
Yes,
Okay. Is there a reason you told Detective Pillar you had him?
yes, because Lori was misleading and she was manipulating me or trying to convince me that he and she was in danger. And so because of our friendship, I thought, I have really no idea if this could be true or not. And I was very perplexed, very troubled, and I really did not know what to do. I was trying to reconcile all these feelings I had.
Okay. Did you have any subsequent contact with the Gilbert Police Department?
Yes,
And do you recall approximately when that was?
I believe it was December 7th or 8th.
Okay. And what contact did you have with the Gilbert Police Department?
I called Officer Pillar and I informed him that who I was, and that probably a lot more detail about the conversation about what happened, about JJ and Lori and Chad. And I also had something that I had recorded that I wanted to give to him.
Okay. Let's talk about that. What had you recorded that you wanted to give to Officer Pillar?
I recorded a conversation with Chad and Lori on Chad Daybell's phone, about 21-minute conversation. And that conversation was about, where was JJ? The conversation talked about, why did you tell the police that I had JJ when I did not? And she explained that. And I also explained to her my concern for her salvation and Chad's, and that they had been very deceived. And I also wanted to make sure that the police knew that I did not have anything to do with this.
Okay. How did you record that conversation?
On a cell phone.
Okay. You mentioned earlier the conversation was with Chad's number.
Correct,
Was that the same number you discussed earlier?
correct.
And what phone did you use to have this conversation?
My phone, and then I had a recorder phone on David Warwick's, and so I put my phone on speaker, and then I recorded it with his phone.
Okay. Had law enforcement asked you to record a conversation with Mrs. Vallow or Mr. Daybell?
No,
Okay. So this was something you did of your own accord?
yes.
Okay. Do you remember, and maybe you've already answered this, what day you made that recording?
December 8th.
And where were you located when you made that recording?
I was in David Warwick's home.
I'm sorry, where?
I was in David's home.
Oh, okay, David Warwick's home.
Yes.
Okay, I apologize, I misheard you. And again, is that the same home in Pleasant Grove, Utah?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, the state would ask that state's exhibit that has been marked as Exhibit 19 be shown to the defense and handed to the witness.
Exhibit 19 is being handed to the witness.
Ms. Gibb, do you recognize the state's Exhibit 19?
Yes.
Have you seen it before?
Yes.
Have you reviewed the contents of that disc?
Yes.
And when did you review the contents of that disc?
Yesterday.
Okay. And what is on that disc?
It's the exact conversation that I recorded on my phone.
Okay. And is that the same conversation you shared with law enforcement?
Yes.
And was it Detective Pillar that you shared that with?
Yes.
Okay. And the recording on that disc, is it a true and accurate representation of the original recording you made?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, the state would ask that State's Exhibit 19 be entered into evidence.
No objection.
Exhibit 19 will be admitted.
Your Honor, the state would request that Exhibit 19 be published.
All right, would you like to publish that on the screen here that's hanging on the wall?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is there video and audio or just audio?
Just audio.
Miss Warwick, or excuse me, Miss Gibb, if you'll hand that exhibit to Madam Bailiff. Madam Bailiff, was there another disc in there?
Yes.
Will you please hand that disc to Mr. Wood so that he can identify it and we can make sure that that gets put into evidence?
Your Honor, that is State's Exhibit 14. It's no longer in the case with the marker.
Okay.
Your Honor, would you like me to hand this to the bailiff or?
Yes, please hand it to the bailiff. Madam Bailiff, do you have the envelope that shows? Okay, Exhibit 14. All right, and Madam Bailiff, or Mr. Wood, the disc that has been placed in the television at this point is Exhibit 19, is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
You're moving to publish that?
Yes.
Mr. Pryor, any objection to publishing Exhibit 19?
No objection, Judge. Thank you.
You may proceed, Mr. Wood.
Thank you. Your Honor, we seem to be having a similar problem as earlier.
I think it's a really good time for a break. It's getting extremely hot in here again. We'll take 15 minutes so we can cool it down in here and we'll reconvene here in 15.